Well, hello guys, this is the Betamax man. Welcome to part 2 of working on the PAL and CCAM machine, the SLT20 and T20ME actually. So I actually have another cassette housing that we're gonna put in this thing. This particular cassette housing actually has 5 screws, 2 screws at the front, 2 screws at the back, and 1 screw in the front. In fact, that's why it's got this little arrow that's pointing over here, because it has the screw right there. So what we can do is I can pull back the faceplate, and I'm going to pull it back far enough to where I can get the cassette housing in and out. And then we might just completely take the whole faceplate completely off, because that way I can do some cleaning. So I think I'll do that. Okay, so I got the front faceplate off, and now we're going to just remove these screws. So there's a screw right down here. You can see it. That's the screw that has to come out in the front. And of course you want to take the plastic cap off here and pull the belt off. And I'm going to go ahead and put that back on there so I don't lose it. And there we go. So we've got that going on now. So we'll just take these screws out and get this cassette housing placed. And I'm gonna do another video, or maybe the same video. What I want to do is take the cassette housing apart and see as to what's caused the problem with it. Alright, this thing should lift right out. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug the switch. This is the switch for the insertion of the cassette. So when the cassette goes in, the switch activates and pulls the tape in, and it starts the loading cycle. Alright, here we go. Now I can get the screws unstuck from the screws are stuck into the post there. So anyway, but yeah, we'll get those screws out. But as you can see here, you can now get to the you can see more workings of the take up the supply reel, and you can see the pendulum gear. This pendulum gear is connected to another gear, and that gear is on the shaft, and that little shaft, that post, is connected to other parts. But there's a pancake motor down here, and the motor, they call it a pancake motor because that's what it looks like, a pancake. It's round and flat. Yeah, so I've got another cassette housing, and we'll pull this one up out of the way. We'll just kind of show you both of them. Now this one's the one I've got, which is this one that's going to go in. It's going to go into the spot of the old one. This one's got, I gotta fix that belt. There. Yeah, get that belt. Alright, now we can just take the, probably would have been better if I had 2 hands here. Alright. Here. Alright, now we're gonna take the, so this has got the little, this is a clip that basically holds the belt in place and keeps it from flying off. This is basically just to make sure that the belt doesn't come off. And that's basically all this little piece does here. So, and then here's your video head. Now on beta, the video head is actually the only thing that turns, and it's inside of a stationary head drum. This head drum is stationary, and the heads detect and, well, they read and write, and they protrude through a slot in the two-piece drum. This is a two-piece drum, and typically what happens with these is the drum starts to get really shiny, and then the tape starts to stick to it. So it can cause problems with like rewind and even fast forward as well. More so for rewind. Okay, and then we have, oh yeah, I've also got, we gotta put the what's that wire? This is the wire for the little switch that has to go and connect. So we'll connect that. There we go. We got that done. Now there's a little clip here that kind of helps keep the wire well, I'll do that later, but the wire is supposed to go in between this piece of plastic here that basically holds the wire in place. And I'll do that later, but there we go. So now we've got the new cassette housing plugged in and ready. I'm going to go ahead and put the screws in because I know that this cassette housing works. We will do a teardown of this one and see exactly as to why it's having a problem. And more than likely, one of the gears has probably got a crack in it or something. And that's probably why it's not working. And the reason why I'm replacing, because it's a lot easier for me and makes my job a little easier. So sometimes replacing is better than trying to repair. At least more cost effective anyway, you know. So there we go. Make sure the belt is in the right place. I'm going to adjust the tension on that belt just a little bit, because I want to have just a little bit more tension on that thing. So if you want to adjust the tension on the belt tensioner, you just unscrew this. Just loosen the screw, just like that, and then you can adjust the tension on the belt. So I'm going to have to use two hands in order to do the adjustment, but I think this belt is slightly smaller than, or larger than the other belt. So we're going to just go all the way like that, and that'll give it good enough tension. Good tension, but yet not too much tension. So, too much tension and it'll bog down the motor. We got this new one in place. So we're going to put the screws in, and then we're going to, I'm just wondering if I should just swap out the belts, because this belt might be a little bit smaller than this one. I think this belt's just a hair larger, but as long as I get good tension on there, it should be okay. Okay, let's get it ready for testing. Now this belt is the same exact size. I thought it might have been a little larger, but what it was is the cassette housing wasn't all the way back, and so the belt seemed like it was larger, but it wasn't. It's the same size. It's just that when this was not in its all the way back position, and it made it look like the belt was, so I didn't even need to adjust the tensioner at all. But I did do just slightly more tension than the factory had it, so. Alright, and where's the eject? Right there. Okay, butter smooth. I'm gonna clean the switches. I gotta clean the contacts with some switch cleaner. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and pull this cassette housing back out, clean the switches, and then put it back in. But because you can see where it wasn't accepting the tape at first because the switch was kind of dirty. So, play. Yeah, so seems to be working really good now. Yeah, no issues. Okay, so it's not eating tapes or nothing, so we fixed that in part 1. Now here at part 2, we've replaced the cassette housing so that we could properly insert a cassette without any issues. So that is good. We have fixed this machine. This machine is now fully operational. So there's no issues with this thing now. It performs and works like it should. There's no issues. It's not eating tape or anything like that. Like I said, I'm going to pull this thing back out because I'm going to clean the switch and then I'll put it back in. So now that we know this thing is working again, 100% working, we can get this thing back together. So this is just a straight Betamax, and I think the hi-fi is much better. But the customer that owns this, he has a lot of home movies, and a lot of the beta movies were mono anyway, so but I just prefer hi-fi models over regular models. I think the customer will be happy with this. The part 3 is going to be basically just doing a maintenance on it, just doing all the servicing. But what we might do is we might pull that upper drum off so that we can clean it and get rid of that sheen, because that sheen is causing the tape to stick to the drum. And you have to mark the drum, because when you take the drum off, it'll be out of alignment. So if you make some marks, you can put it back into perfect alignment. So we'll probably do that, or I could clean it and just keep the head away from the area that I'm working on. I could do it that way as well. Anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna pull this out, clean the switch, put it back. Alright, let's see where my cleaner is. Okay. I'm just gonna spray a little bit of cleaner on these switches here, so we'll just give them a good clean and activate them. Well, I've got the front back together. I've got a tape in there, and it is playing. It's not playing correct because this is an NTSC tape. I'm trying to play it on a PAL machine, and it's not going to work. So anyway, but this TV will actually show somewhat of an image, whereas the analog TV will not. The analog TV just sees it as a bunch of snowy mess, but the digital TV is actually somewhat showing a picture, and that might be due to, there might be a time-based corrector in the TV, so it's trying to correct a problem that's not actually there, because it's a NTSC machine. TV, I mean. So I should get like a PAL TV, just like a little portable like PAL TV, just to have around, you know, if I'm going to be working on more of the PAL C-cam machines. But yeah, this is playing it in black and white. Forward is good. The problem is, watch the capstan controller when I go into forward search. It wants to chew the tape. Watch when I fast forward. Yeah. It wants to chew the tape. So, we have another issue. So, I think part 3, we're going to tackle that issue. Just seems like every time I turn around, fix one thing and something else goes wrong. So what I think is happening is, I think that the capstan shaft, see this shaft here, is bent, and is causing the tape issue. And what I might do, just put a new capstan motor in here, because the shaft, I can bend the shaft back in place, but it will bend back again. Over time, it will eventually bend back. So I need to be able to probably just put a new capstan motor in there. Because I doubt that it's going to stay problem free, because I was just trying to find my... So I'm going to do, we're going to see if this is the issue. I think it is, but we're going to see. I'm going to take the capstan. So we're going to pull it back. We're going to pull it back towards me. Like that. So let's see if it'll chew it up. Alright, let's hit forward. And that's the problem we were having. And that's why I was chewing the tape. But the problem is that this capstan motor, even though I bent it back, more than likely it'll happen again. And it's okay. But the problem is it's not going to stay okay. It eventually will work its way back out, and then it'll start eating tapes, chewing tapes and fast forward. Not eating them, but chewing them. It'll chew tapes because what's happening is the pinch roller is making more contact on the bottom than it is at the top. Instead of making contact evenly all the way from the bottom to the top, it's making more contact on the bottom and less on the top. And so what that does is that causes the pinch roller to chew the tape, and it curls the top of the tape. See? So yeah, that's the issue. That's why it's doing that. So we're gonna remedy that issue by replacing the capstan motor shaft. So we're just going to replace the shaft. We're going to unscrew the shaft and replace it. But at least in part 2 we got the cassette housing replaced, and now it's working beautifully. Now this particular cassette housing, we will do a video later on and see if we can determine as to why this thing was failing, because, and it might be that we have like one of the posts or something has broken, or it's worked its way out of alignment or something. But there's some reason why the cassette housing had failed. And this one is slightly different. You can see it's quite a bit different from the regular 711B cassette housing chassis. So yeah, but they're a little different. The gears are a little bit different. There's switches, two switches, micro switches. Stay tuned for part 3, because part 3 will repair the capstan problem. Well, we'll just replace it, and that'll fix that, and this thing should be back up to 100% operation. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.